All right, people are starting to filter in. It's 4:31. Let's just give it maybe 2 more minutes for the last few people to join, and then we will kick things off. All right, cool. So we'll start with just a few. Oh, hold on one second. Small technical issue. We're getting a few people.
Sam, you're on mute.
Knew that was going to happen to me at some point today. We just have a few people in the Google Meet link, Armina, so I'm just going to send them the proper Zoom. Hold on one second here. I don't know if Kayla is here, but Kayla, I got your Slack, so I'm going to send you the link if you can forward it to the people in that group.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, cool. While we wait for people to move over from the Google link, I want to go over a couple just housekeeping notes here. So for the best viewing experience, so that you can see your panelists and hear their responses clearly, please keep your camera off and keep yourself on mute. If you go to the top right and use gallery view, you'll be able to see our panelists kind of all across your screen and hear them speaking directly. This is important. So if you hover over any non-video participant and click the 3 dots and click to hide non-video participants, this will allow you to see the panelists only, opposed to everyone's kind of little squares. For the Q&A, please use the chat. Those will be responded to at the end when we kind of open the floor to all questions. But if anything comes up throughout our chat here today, feel free to post it there and we'll make sure to get to it at the end. Perfect. Well, I don't hear any sound here, Armina. I don't know if anyone else does, but that's okay. That's okay. So this was just a quick little video just to let you guys know. As you can see, theScore launched a merch store in collaboration with the Peace Collective. We will be doing a raffle with all of our attendees. We're giving away $300 gift cards that we will raffle off after the event, and we will be emailing the winners to let them know. So that's a big thank you to all. Thank you to all of you for attending today. Perfect. So I think we've got everyone here now. Perfect. Wow, great attendance. Thank you all again for showing up and hearing what we have to say today. So welcome everyone to the Women at the Score Committee's first ever virtual panel featuring the women behind the score bet. For those of you who are new here, theScore is a leader in media, sports media and gaming, as well as esports. I'm Samantha, and I'll be your moderator today. I'm the Director of Customer Experience here at theScore, and I've been with the company for over 6 years now. It's been really amazing to watch this industry grow and this company just expand, grow in size, grow in talent, and some of that talent we're featuring here today. I will pass it over to our first panelist, Alana, so she can introduce herself.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks everyone for joining today, and my fellow panelists and coworkers. Really looking forward to the discussion. So a little bit about me. I have a Bachelor of Commerce degree in Sports Administration from Laurentian University. That's kind of where I grew my knack of love of sports and business. It was a perfect merriment for me. And also have a deep background in brand marketing, and more specifically, how we leverage our sports partnerships to grow and build equity in the marketplace. So I lead our marketing activations here at theScore. And what that really means is we myself and my team, create meaningful experiences for our fans that build positive perceptions of our brand and ultimately drive them to engage with our products. So that comes to life through a lot of our owned assets and through our partnerships like Golf Canada and some of the major ones that we just announced, like the Toronto Blue Jays. So that is kind of what my day-to-day looks like very quickly in a nutshell. I think Belinda, you're up next.
Thanks, Lana. My name is Belinda Alsner. I'm the Director of Product Management working on theScore Bet. And what that means is I manage a team of product managers who work across our backend technology platforms and user-facing iOS and Android apps. As product people, we're responsible for identifying opportunities that satisfy business objectives, and we work with design and engineering teams to break these down and then bring them to life. My path to product management is a little atypical. I don't have a technical background, and I went to journalism school and worked as a journalist for a few years before ending up at a news startup, which is where I got into product marketing specifically. From there, I moved on to Checkout 51, which is a mobile coupon app on the product team, and I've been at theScore for 3.5 years, give or take a little bit now. I started as a senior product manager on our news and content team, working on internal tools and user-facing products. And when the company shifted to betting, I went there with them and have not looked back since. I worked on the original launch of theScore Bet in New Jersey in 2019, and proud to be part of the team that brought it to Ontario just, I guess, 2.5 weeks ago. That's me. Emily, over to you.
Thanks, Belinda. Hi, everyone. My name's Emily. I started with theScore in October of 2019 while I was completing my undergrad at Ryerson in their sport media program. I started as an operations coordinator, and then when I graduated in 2020, I got brought on full-time in that same role. And a lot of that was monitoring the app, doing some data entry, and then responding to any users who wrote in about our media app. As we prepared to bring our customer support team for the betting app in-house in 2021, I transitioned into more of the customer experience or experience manager role, where I drafted a lot of our standard operating procedures. I'll commonly refer to them as SOPs, and then helped put our Zendesk communicating tool together to prepare for patron contacts from the betting app, which was only live in the States at that time. Now my role is kind of overseeing all of our customer support documentation, our customer support reporting, and then just ensuring that the customer support team has everything they need to be successful when communicating with patrons. And as part of the customer experience team, I do work quite closely with our product team, so Belinda's teams, and then some other teams like marketing and analytics to make sure that if there is something going live in the app, that we're making sure our customer support team is aware of it and that they have the resources they need. And then on the flip side, if there is a feedback trend that we're noticing on the customer support side, that we're making sure the product teams and any affected teams are made aware so we can identify it and adjust it in-app as well. But yeah, I've been with theScore for 2.5 years and I love it. It's been a great ride so far. And I'll pass it over to Minky.
Hi, everybody. I'm Minky. My name is, I'm the team lead at the data analyst team at theScore. So I've been here for almost 2 years now. The data analytics team provide data-driven solutions to help our companies and our stakeholders to improve profitability, growth, and user experience. We provide analytics services to many stakeholders across our organization. We provide such as some of the stakeholders that we work a lot with are risk and trading, marketing, product, finance, compliance, and many more. Prior to my work at theScore, I did a number of consulting related jobs in both private and public sectors. So I was very fortunate to work in 5 different countries and have touch in a very wide range of work in different industries. I did my bachelor's degree in mathematics and business at University of Waterloo. So I think this really helped me to set my foundation in a lot of the technical skills I am currently working in the data field. And currently I'm doing my master's degree in management analytics at Queen's. And I'll pass it on to Rachel.
Rachel, I think you're on mute. Sorry.
I should have known that was going to happen. Well, I'll say that again. Thank you, Minky. And my name is Rachel Schaefer. I am the Responsible Gaming Program Manager here at theScore. So I overall started in iGaming in 2018 as a fraud, risk, and payment specialist. And I did that for a few years until I started a role in responsible gaming. And when I started with theScore, I picked back up doing fraud and risk work and did some responsible gaming work behind the scenes. So I was super excited to accept a role as a responsible gaming program manager. I live and breathe responsible gaming and I absolutely love it. And to be able to work for a company who feels the same way about responsible gaming as I do was like such a gift. So I've absolutely been loving working here. I started September of last year and we've had so much growth and so much change. And I'm just so excited to see where theScore goes and where we all take it. And my day-to-day role is overseeing the responsible gaming program. So any ways that we can improve the program, communicating back and forth with the regulators regarding responsible gaming requirements, and then also a lot of customer-facing work as well. So handling any escalations where patrons might be exhibiting any responsible gaming concerns.
Amazing. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you, everyone. I think that was all of our intros. So, oh, perfect. Screen changed. Awesome. So with that said, I mentioned in the beginning, I've been here 6 years and I've seen incredible growth and through my own personal journey, but also through the journeys of my coworkers. So Belinda, I'm going to lean on you for the first question here. How has theScore helped you grow your career internally?
It's a good question, Sam, and a good observation too that I'd like to echo. For myself personally, theScore has been, a really fantastic place to grow my career. I sort of alluded to this in my intro, but I started as a senior product manager, worked as a product team lead, and now the director of product management. From my perspective, we do have a strong culture of promoting internally, and this is something that I try to build on my team as well, making sure that everyone has a career journey and paths to their next steps and understanding what they need to do to, hit that next level. I've worked at places where that culture doesn't exist, where when you need a new manager or someone higher up the chain, where that goes right to an external hire, and it can be really demoralizing. So, it's really been a breath of fresh air to really see this culture of building up the people that you have internally and seeing them through next phases of their career. There's obviously challenges that come with that. Of course, the learning curves can be steep, but I think overall we've got a really great group of people who like to rise to challenges, and so I think many of the women on this panel I've seen go through different roles in their careers at theScore as well. So that's sort of obviously speaking for myself personally and what I try to create on my team. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've had about 4 different jobs here, the way it's evolved over time, and it's super fun. It keeps things interesting, exciting, and it's allowed for a lot of personal growth. So I agree with what you're saying. Kind of into the next question, what unique skills are you learning in this industry that help you grow professionally? Obviously, theScore being in sports media and sports gaming and esports. Rachel, your role is very specific to gaming. Is there anything that you can think of that is unique?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sam. So responsible gaming touches almost every single department. And one thing that I've noticed specifically in this industry is that collaboration is at the heart of everything. And in any given job, you are expected to work with others and work well. But I mean, it is a vital part of what we do here. And I think everybody lives and kind of breathes that very collaborative environment. I don't think we would be able to do half of what we did if none of us worked together the way that we do. It's so easy to reach out to other teams if you need help, just to get everyone working together. And again, especially in my role where I'm getting escalations from customer support and fraud and VIP, and there's responsible gaming requirements in some marketing advertisements, or even from a product perspective where we have responsible gaming tools and suggestions like that. So it's in a little bit of everything. And I love how collaborative everyone is here. And it's such an important skill to have. And I think we do it so well here specifically.
Yeah, and I would think, like, from what you just said directly, you probably interact with almost everyone on this panel. And that's something that's unique and that you bring to their roles and they can learn from. And that, does anyone else have any experience kind of working with Rachel, or the things that you've learned from an RG perspective maybe, or the different stakeholders?
I mean, I can jump in on that because Rachel was a tremendous help when we had our score bet home opener, which was, a mass launch party that some people might be familiar with. And it was just really interesting to take RG policy and actually bring it to life in an experiential environment. It's one thing to have it written at the bottom of a poster, but, truly live and breathe that, and how our brand ambassadors and our experiences, are regulated, and we take pride in having that regulation and how we speak to our consumers, and we make sure that's an educated and an informed way. So you're absolutely right. Like, Rachel's role touches everybody's kind of day to day, which is, it's nice to have her to work with.
Yeah, and learning, like, RG is specific to gaming for sure in our industry, but it teaches you how to work with regulators and different pieces and components like that. So it's really neat that it's a transferable skill no matter what. But I think it's really unique to working in this industry, and that's really cool. Awesome. Okay, so moving on a little bit, Alana, to hear a little bit more from you. As a woman, what challenges have you faced in this industry?
No, it's a great question. And I'm sure there's a lot, and a lot of women can relate, but I feel like personally, my biggest one is always the challenge of being heard. A lot of the time I feel like women find themselves being the only woman at the table. And, that could be very intimidating sometimes when you're in a sea of strong opinions. So it took a lot, for me personally, to build my confidence, to put my hand up, to share my point of view, which of course also comes with age and growth over time, and you get a little bit more comfortable in your own skin and your own skill set and the job that you perform on the day to day. But in hindsight, looking back, and some of the advice that I would even give is, put your hand up. If you feel like you add value, if you have something to say, if you want to challenge an opinion that's really to drive the greater success of a project or your team, don't be afraid to speak up and put yourself out there, and really be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think too, that's a challenge that some people, especially women, don't like to be in the uncomfortable zone, that, they stay their lane and do what they do best, which is awesome. But the quickest path to growth, I found, even especially at theScore, is really putting yourself out there and giving your opinion, because that is well received. And it's also the easiest and quickest way to get feedback for yourself. So it's really that challenge of finding your voice and then ensuring that your communication style matches it, so people can actually hear what you say in an articulate way that pushes success forward for everybody.
Yeah. Do you think, with saying how you just have to put yourself out there or kind of take the step, do you think there was like a specific moment that you can remember where you did something like that and it changed the game for you? Or do you think it was baby steps along the way, you treaded carefully, and eventually you've evolved into like the role or the way you handle things now?
Yeah, you know what? It's a little bit of both. Sometimes being thrown into the jungle, so to speak, is always helpful when you're kind of put on the spot and ask for your opinion. You can't hide. And in bigger meetings, sometimes it's also easy for people and women to hide in those bigger type of boardroom meetings. But when someone actually singles you out and asks for your opinion, you provide it and it's well received. That's a good feeling to know that, again, you do add value, and it's not that hard or scary or daunting to actually put your hand up and to be a part of the conversation and to lean in. But for sure, for some people, it's not easy. And again, confidence grows over time, but ensuring that you do put your best foot and self forward is always the goal.
That's awesome. Very cool. I mean, I think that the confidence and the boldness, and you grow into that a little bit and it comes with time, but I think that theScore has made it really easy and a great place for us to speak up. So, I appreciate that in working here. Rachel.
If I can just add one more tip onto what Alana just, sort of to riff off of that, if you're in that situation and trying to find where to contribute your voice, sometimes even just asking questions is a really effective way of doing it. Because if you have the question, if it's not clear to you, chances are it's also probably not clear to at least one other person in the room. Or even it can be used as a way to sort of say, okay, here's what I'm hearing you say, reiterate it back in like a really simple way. And that, like, just to gain that alignment, that's a tip that I have used over the years to, make sure, when I do feel uncomfortable, like, what, just like ask the stupid question. It's probably not a stupid question. And like, again, if I don't know this answer, chances are someone else doesn't either. And someone else will also benefit from you using your voice in that way too.
Yeah, I would know that's a great point. And it's totally true, right? If you ask the question, it also, not to be kind of cliche about it, but does inspire somebody to say, hey, if that person can ask a question and put up their hand and they're in, this leadership position or in this role, I can surely do that as well. So it does help foster some sense of security too, for others who may not be leaning in as much as they should or even want to be.
Yeah, I also want to chime in here a little bit. Everybody talked about how, putting our voice in is very important. And I do think that, and then in the past where I have worked in different sectors, where I've been told that I'm too aggressive when I'm voicing it out. So I think an important thing I learned through that was to really, sometimes like we all look within like what is wrong with me and questioning like, oh, is it my problem that I shouldn't have put my hand up and asked that question, or I shouldn't even like question this whole process. But and then through that challenges and then through that journey, I learned, okay, that's not me. That's not somewhere I choose to want to work in and choose to want to belong in. I need to find a new place for me to accept, for a place to accept my voice. So I think that's also something that I learned along the journey, is to finding that place that allow me to be who I am, allow me to grow and put my voice in and really be valued like that.
Yeah, lots of head nods. I think we're all in agreement here. That's awesome. I'm actually just going to pause for one quick second and make a quick housekeeping announcement. Some questions are rolling in, which is really fantastic. We're going to have an awesome Q&A at the end of this as well. But if there is someone specific that you'd like to have answer the question, please make sure you put their name so that our question moderator can make sure we're addressing them to the individual who you're looking to hear from. If not, it can be an open discussion and any of our panelists can answer, but if there is someone you're specifically looking to hear from, please make sure you mention their name. So Rachel, you've been here, it's been just over a year now, right?
No, still under you. I started in September of last year. Yeah.
Sorry, September of last year. Time flies when you're having fun. But has anything kind of surprised you along the way or surprised you in your time here?
Yeah, so I think my biggest surprise overall since starting in the industry as a whole was the fact that I enjoyed it so much. When I started working in iGaming, I took it because it was a great job. I was working in retail and I got an amazing offer and I thought, wow, like this could really be great. It would be a great job, but it ended up being so much more than just a job. I grew to really enjoy the work, to really loving what I was doing, kind of just when I found my place in responsible gaming and just work that really resonated with me and things that I believe in. And so I think that just overall was so surprising. I never thought in a million years that I would enjoy working in a gaming industry. I started in 2018, and at the time I had never gambled once. I had never even considered it, and I knew nothing about iGaming whatsoever. I started as a fraud, risk, and payment specialist, and I had absolutely no idea what that was. I really didn't. When I applied for the job, I was very confused. I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. And now I'm so happy to be where I am, doing work that I love to do, at a company that I absolutely love to work for. So I think it's just, yeah, the biggest shock was that I ended up loving it.
That's awesome. That's such an expectation versus reality situation. I think that happens a lot here, like coming in, not knowing what it's going to entail, or expecting it to be a certain way. I know that when I came in, my expectation was very different than reality, but I want to direct this one to Emily. What do you think? Expectations of joining this industry or joining theScore beforehand versus the reality now that you've been part of the organization and that you've grown within the organization?
Yeah, I'll always tie it back to my schooling because I feel like I'm still fresh out of school, even though it's been 2 years, and I call them COVID years, so they don't count. But just to kind of echo what Rachel said, it is surprising, the possibilities within this industry. I think in terms of theScore, the expectations I had, I come from the sport media program, and I almost feel like that was a warm up to working in, a sports culture and a male dominated environment. So it kind of prepared me to transfer into theScore because it is still quite heavily male dominated. It is obviously changing. We can see all these wonderful faces. We are growing our a lot more in the female side. But I did have some reservations about, being a female in this industry, how was I going to be perceived? I did walk onto a team that was all male, so I was a little worried about that, but everyone was just so welcoming, and I always felt like I belonged there. Everyone listened to what I had to say, and, the questions I asked, I never felt like it was a stupid question. So I do feel very fortunate in that sense. And, the reality of theScore is that, like I mentioned, everyone is so welcoming and accepting. And, I never felt less than because I didn't have much experience in the sport media industry yet. And then also, my gender is obviously a huge thing. At the end of the day, I did walk onto a team of all males. And so I've just felt like this whole industry is way more accepting than people kind of let it seem. And so the opportunities I've had have been tremendous. And I think if we look here, like there are so many different streams that you can take that, people don't know about. Like I'm in customer experience. I never thought I would ever be in customer experience because I didn't even know what it was. Compliance is something that I would never thought of, but like I work so closely with them. I work with Rachel in the responsible gaming. I work with Lana in marketing and, Minky in analytics. And so those are all industry or all fields that I never thought I would be kind of intertwining with through, being in the sport industry field, but here I am. And it's just, yeah, the reality of what is available is quite astonishing.
Yeah, I think that that's really cool. Like, I mean, based on our titles, clearly Emily and I work very closely together, but, watching your growth over the years has been really, really cool to see. And I think that you make a good point that you get to deal with so many different elements. Like we're a tech company, we're a media company, we're a gaming company, have a casino product. There's so many cool pieces to it, things you never necessarily expected to be a part of. And I think that Score's culture really fosters kind of that growth and the ability to learn a lot while you're here. I guess in relation to like culture and growth, Minky, what's your experience been like, and how has theScore's culture impacted your growth or supported your growth?
Yeah, for sure. I 100% echo with what Emily just said. In terms of it has been quite of a shock to me as well, because knowing that I've worked in many different industries in the past, and sports has always been like the industry I have not touched with. And before I coming in to work for theScore, and I was backtracking with what Emily said is I thought is going to be very male dominant, very aggressive, performance driven culture, but it really is not. I think I really found a home here, and what that one of a very important factor that helped me feel this way is the open and transparent culture that I've experienced here at theScore and also on my team as well. So I've, in many of my experiences with my past companies where a lot of the decisions are made under the table, where I just felt like I was being told as an afterthought once the decision was made, but that was not the case at theScore here. So for instance, like when we talked about, like when my team talked about hiring plans, and then this was discussed with at the very early stage and among everybody in the analytics team. So this really shows that our opinion was very valued and looked after before we finalized a plan that we make on hiring. So the openness and like the transparency really helped me to like feel being part of this team and then being part of the company and I would say family, and then so it where like I've made me feel like where my opinion is really valued, and which led to me wanting to put more effort into working here because I know that I'm being looked after. So this is something that I really, the transparency and the openness really provided that stability to me. And I think stability is quite important to me to, knowing that, oh, I'm being valued here. And then it really incentivized me to stay in this company and to give me room to actually grow and advance my work.
Yeah, I think that that's awesome. I agree. I know that, I've been here 6 years. I feel the same way as you do. So I think that that's really fantastic. theScore is, acting as a leader in the industry, but the industry as a whole, kind of making this a bigger picture. April 4th, sports gaming or mobile sports betting, everything was legalized in Canada, and it's a brand new emerging industry. I'm tripping over my words here. But Alana, what do you think this industry can do to support you as a, female in this industry or in this role?
Yeah, I mean, panels like these are a great start. I think it's pretty evident, just in the world we live in at the moment, that visibility really does truly matter. And the industry just needs to continue to highlight women in leadership positions, or even those that, maybe not have the CMO or CEO title, but really hold strong roles in emerging sectors. Providing platforms for women to take the lead in the conversation, I feel it is super critical. So those opportunities are not always present, and sometimes they are few and far between. So I think even as we look at the industry as a whole in business and in sports, and those who are holding the microphone at the end of the day, they can truly show their support to pass that microphone along, and really inspire the next generation of young women to get involved. I think that's the goal here for everyone, regardless of your gender, is you just really want to get other women and other kids and other young people involved in sports business in these emerging sectors that aren't going away. They're only going to grow and provide job opportunities. So let's get the best and brightest. So, platforms and ampliphones and things like that, where it's given to women to actually hold to lead the conversation, I think is some of the bigger picture things that the industry can do. Also mentorship, again, regardless of gender, providing great leaders and providing a place for, up and comers to actually showcase their skill set and, more importantly, build their network. I think part of, landing into great roles and being seen as a high performer is all network driven as well. And again, a lot of people don't have those opportunities. So, fostering that kind of community and culture, which we actually do a really great job here at theScore with regards to mentorship and internships and what have you, but it's really those opportunities and those platforms that need to be continued to present themselves for women in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big part of what inspired this panel was letting women know, whether they've been in the workforce for a while or they're, you know, new grads or soon to be grads, that there's this great, cool, huge emerging industry coming or here now, and that there's a place for you. Women bring a really unique perspective to everything that they do, including working in this industry, in gaming and sports media, and all of that. Emily, how were you able to leverage your experiences to get into this industry, and what do you think sets you apart when you were applying?
So just for background, I was, like I mentioned a million times, in the sport media program, and obviously I use that as an advantage to get into this industry. I am not from Toronto, so it was hard to, you know, have that networking, and I think putting yourself out there really helps, especially if you are in school. Going to networking events at your, you know, through your faculty, or ones you see online as well, such as this. But I think when I was getting into this industry and particularly applying for theScore, I did have experiences. They just weren't in the sport media industry. So I used those and just kind of related them to how I would use them in the sport media. So, you know, I work in the service industry. I had the customer support. You know, I knew how to interact with customers. It just was not necessarily how you would through a tech company. And so I leveraged the knowledge I had there and just, you know, showed how I could apply it to an online portfolio. I also, you know, with schooling, I had a base understanding of sports, and that is obviously, you know, important to have. It's not an end all be all, but at the end of the day, like, it does help when you have a base understanding of the product you're going to be working on. And so I used those types of things to set myself apart. And then I actually think it did help being a female, because I just have a different perspective than, you know, male coworkers. And I think, you know, personally, I think of everything. I get like personal connections with people, which I think is really important, especially in the workforce, where I am not always the most outgoing, but once I get to know you, I get to, you know, I ask those questions that are required. And so I think that actually helps quite a bit. And I think it's like a superpower of mine that not many of my male coworkers have. And so I think that really helped when I was applying.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that your comment to being a sports fan or having an interest in sports is definitely, you know, it helps. It can be part of it, but it's not necessary and it's not required, as we can kind of see through this group, that there's so many diversity of experiences and roles that, you know, may not necessarily focus on the sports side. Obviously, sports writers are going to be sports fans to a certain extent, but Belinda, you came from a journalism background, not tech and not sports and not gaming, and you've learned, like, you can learn and you can pick up. You know, you probably cheer for your favorite teams, hopefully the Maple Leafs. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna get booed and everyone's gonna leave if I say that. But you can come in with different perspectives, and I think it's really special. And if anyone wants to add to that question, I think it's a really great one.
Yeah. Emily also just brings a good point on soft skills, right? The importance on, you know, emotional intelligence and what you bring to the table that not necessarily are always critical hard skills to a role. And, you know, a woman's perspective on, you know, different points of view and just providing, you know, providing that EQ is super critical, I think, in some of the roles to foster great relationships, especially, you know, if I look at my role in dealing with a lot of external partners, like, that needs a lot of emotional intelligence, that needs some communication styles and honing in on. So I think it's a good point to make with regards to relationship building. You know, super critical to stand out if you don't think you don't have the technical skills or your technical skills aren't quite there just yet, but you can learn from that.
And those skills in my mind are so important, especially now that we're in more of a remote first world versus, you know, when we were all co-located in the office together, you know, there was, you know, relationships that formed and social capital that you can use to help, you know, move projects forward. That is a lot more difficult to build when you're remote. So like there's actually, you know, that's work that you have to do to make sure that you're investing in, you know, those emotional relationships and those that time that you're spending with people, not to make it sound it's all very transactional at the end of the day, but like, it, you know, you do have to invest more into those parts of your job now in a remote world, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. I think a good kind of follow-up to that last question about like being the applicant coming in. We obviously, I'm a hiring manager here. I know a few of the panelists are as well. So I'm actually going to direct this question to Belinda, but kind of as a hiring manager, what challenges do you face when trying to fill a role in the team? And what is something that you would want women applying to the industry? What do you think that they should know? What's something that would be helpful for them?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what Emily was just talking about. You know, I can speak from my perspective as hiring for the product team, because the product team actually, I think, really embodies a lot of what Emily just also spoke about. You know, subject matter expertise for us is helpful, but is absolutely not a must-have. You know, product management is about using I had a conversation with someone on my team literally this morning about this exactly, but it's about, you know, having a set of tools at your disposal and using those skills to figure out what to build regardless of the industry that you're in. So, you know, for someone, you know, who's new to the industry, like, don't be over there are things that are teachable. Like, you don't have to know what a money line and a spread is. Like, we have documentation on all that stuff. We can learn that together. But if you have the skills of like being inquisitive and having the emotional intelligence and knowing how to solve problems, how to have conversations that are challenging, those are the skills that will make you successful regardless of the industry. You know, like you said, Sam, like, I have a journalism background. I worked at a coupon app. I now work at a sports app. You know, I like sports. You know, the Leafs broke my heart too many times, and I can't really, it wasn't a healthy relationship, so I had to take a step back. But you know, I'm personally not someone who bets on sports. But you know, our team is made up of people that have subject matter expertise and those who don't. And I think, you know, I very strongly believe that diverse teams, whether it's, you know, across the sort of intersectionality of diversity, make better products, like, full stop. The more perspectives that you have in the room when you're building, the better product that it's going to be, the more representative it's going to be of your users. So if you're someone who, you know, wants to get into this industry and you have a unique perspective and you have a unique background, you know, it's open for you. You know, come in with the skills that you have, and you know, you know, to what I spoke to earlier, you know, making sure that, you know, my team has, you know, structure in place to be like, okay, if you come in as an associate product manager, what's your path to becoming a product manager, and making sure that everyone has that path and growing that skill set, and obviously gaining the subject matter expertise along the way. Because like I said, it does help. But, you know, at the end of the day, also, you know, I do believe sort of in the beginner's mindset, which is, you know, approaching problems as a beginner would, not with the sort of preconceived blinders on that an expert necessarily would. So, you know, that would sort of be my advice for someone looking to get into this industry. You know, and as I'm hiring, what I kind of look for is more of a skill set and an attitude and an approach to working versus, you know, a set of experience that checks this box and this box and this box because they've done these exact things before. Obviously, like I said, it's helpful, especially in some roles. You know, there's definitely people on my team who have the subject matter expertise, and that's what they need to be successful in that role. But, you know, it's not true. Again, that diversity of experiences is extremely important.
I agree. And I think that the product team, like you said, is a great representation of that. It comes from, you know, experience all over the board. I know that my team, the customer experience team as well. Minky, is there, you know, from your team and your perspective, is there something that you think that you personally, like as a female on the team, bring to your team dynamic that's unique and different?
Yeah, for sure. Before I answer this question, I kind of want to go back to what Belinda just said. I want to echo what she said, which is diversity is so important. And as female leaders in this company, and then when I hire data analysts, and then this is something that I really pay attention to, is to how do I grow my team in a more diverse form. I'm not just looking for someone who's no sports, very passionate, which is always really good, and then but technically sound great. But I want to also look at your different profile, what kind of job you've done, and then how's your communication skills, right? And I think communication is very important given any type of job that we do now. Like, we have to talk to people to get things done, and then you need to have a good communication skills, be able to tell your story, knowing who you are, and be able to vocalize your story and making other people understand is a very crucial experience and is a very crucial skills to have. And this is something that you could definitely, if you feel like you're weak in, you can definitely work in. Knowing who you are is very important in applying to a job. And me coming from, I was never a diehard sports fan, even though I've gotten into UFC, very into UFC lately. But prior to applying to this job, I didn't think twice about, oh, will I fit in, or with my interests, like, will they mind if I'm not a diehard sports fan? The truth is they don't mind. What my team looked for was someone who is technically sound and also is able to communicate well, because that's the essence of what this job entails. So I would say that if you're a female who's looking into coming into the sports industry, of course, I'm not saying every every department that you can't you can just not be a diehard sports fan. If you work in content, you should know what you're talking about. But there are a lot of also background jobs that happening in the background in sports industry that you could work in, that you don't need a lot of knowledge in a specific type of sports, right? And then don't be afraid. Don't let that shut you down and not apply. Still apply, and you never know what's going to happen. You never know how your value is going to be, how people see your value in that way, right? So I would highly encourage anyone. I would say, being brave and courageous is something that I value very much, and is something that I would, very much want to vocalize to any of the females who wants to work in sports industry. And rolling back now to what I, as like a female leader, what I bring to my team dynamic, I would say one of the very important quality that I want to bring as an individual and also as a leader is empathy. So I think empathy is very important in like everyone's personal life, to be able to understand what your friends and family is going through and relate, the message, and then how to deal with it appropriately, right? It's very important. And similarly, I think it's very important to bring that quality into the workplace, where given that we deal with many people in our daily work, and then making sure that, we balance the need of everyone, and in the same time respond to everyone's feeling in an appropriate manner. So it's very important to like bring empathy towards like my team personally. So it allows my team to be more cohesive and supportive of each other. So I want to, create like a home environment for my team to work on, because like we work more than 8 hours with each other in a day. So that's a lot of time. That's a long time. So it's very important to let them know that their feeling and well-being are looked after. And if they go through tough times or situations with a stakeholder, and then I'll be able to empathize with them, but in the same time also, provide appropriate support. So it really helps to erase a lot of, being empathetic really helps to erase a lot of the negative feelings when issues comes, right? So I would say that's one of the important quality that I continue to bring in my team as a female.
That's awesome. Your team's so lucky to have you. I think that's really good to think of it that way, and to keep that always top of mind. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you all for answering my questions. Next up, we have some really great Q&A questions that the audience here has been submitting. So the first one is for anyone who wants to answer. Have you ever faced any challenges within your career growth? If so, how did you overcome them?
I can jump in and maybe take that one. Yeah.
For sure. Multiple people can answer. Don't all jump up at once.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We're all playing chicken of who wants to go first with these questions. I think a challenge too, over than above the one that I already spoke about of kind of finding your voice or whatnot is just even finding what career path you'd like to take. I think sometimes people can find themselves, and women in particular, maybe growing bored or stale of their career journey, and then also getting very disheartened of what they want to do next. Again, going back to the visibility matters type of mantra, you look around at a sea of male dominated roles and feel like you can't attain those positions. So overcoming that is have conversations. Again, put yourself out there, reach out to people. LinkedIn is a great place to start. And I find in this kind of post-pandemic world, a lot of people are available and willing to offer their time and help. And, we'll give you 10 minutes, 15 minutes of a conversation on a blind reach out. So constantly challenging yourself to push yourself forward in your own career and really, just going out and doing it and having a backbone instead of a wishbone, I think is one of the best things that you can do for yourself, because, you feel like you have to probably, I'm looking at Emily, who probably felt like she all had to have it figured out once she graduated and make that, 7-8 figure job, but that's definitely not the case. So a challenge is just really finding yourself in a career that you love and ensuring that you're constantly driving yourself forward, I think is one of the bigger ones.
I love that. Would you say have a backbone?
have a backbone instead of a wishbone.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did anyone want to add on to that?
Yeah, I'll add on to it. I think as like everybody know, as like an Asian female, I've actually encountered many challenges. And one of the biggest challenge for me is when I was, like Minky is a name that I legally changed. And after I finished university, what I found out is throughout my university years where I was applying to jobs, using my, Chinese name, I was given less opportunities for an interview to get an interview compared to my other fellow people who have an English name, right? So that has created a lot of challenges, and knowing that like I had to change my name. But in the same time, I learned that the way I conduct myself, the way I do interviews, and the way I write my resumes, it has a lot of areas that I could work on. And then I did not want there were a lot of I did not want to give the opportunity for a door to shut out on me when I submit, any job applications. So I think just knowing where my shortcoming is and knowing who I am and where I want to get to, and really put my head down and work on that. So what I did really to help improve my resume was actually critique other people's resume. I critiqued over 200 plus other students' resume in order to help me to understand, okay, what do I lack of? And then what am I good at? So I can apply similar methods to my resume. And similarly, like talking to people, networking, I've reached out blindly to thousands of people on LinkedIn, just in the industries that I want to work in to help me find a job. So I think throughout these tough experiences, and then I've really I think that I had to, compare to a lot of my other fellow students, and I really had to put a lot of work into trying to find the job that I want to, because my parents have no relationship, no networks here in Canada, that I really had to do that on my own. And I think knowing what your shortcoming is and where to work in, and being willing to put in that extra effort, something will come out. And similarly, because I've been through all these challenges, and for those people on the panel today, if you want to reach out to me to get advice on resume, I'd I'd be happy to do so because I understand the challenges that everyone goes through in this area, and I'd be more than happy to help you out.
Yeah, I was going to announce it at the end, but we will be sending out an email to all participants here today, just with the LinkedIn information and networking information for the panelists. So you can connect with them and join their networks after this. So thank you, Minky, for reminding me so I don't forget at the end. We do have a question here for Rachel specifically. It says, Rachel, so curious about your job at theScore. Is there a course/certificate you studied to get into fraud/gaming regulation?
So there was no course or certificate that I received. I just received really comprehensive training starting in this industry, and I just built off that. And if I wanted to learn something, I asked. And 99% of the time, someone was willing to entertain me and teach me something new. And that's kind of how I ended up where I am. I just did the absolute best that I could in the roles that I was in. And eventually I had people reach out to me and say, hey, I think you'd be a great fit here. Like, you should apply. And I would do it and I would get it. And that's how I kept moving forward. So there's no specific course or a certificate. I was given a really good opportunity and I just took every single advantage of it that I could.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the theme here today is ask a lot of questions, speak up, be bold, be courageous. And I think that that's great life lessons for everything you do. We're coming up to time here. I'm saving the best question for last because I'm actually super stoked about this one. But the question says, any chance we could see a series of educational sessions to teach women about sports betting? A safe place for us to learn without judgment would be great. And Belinda, what are your thoughts on this one?
I love that idea. I think that's a great idea. Yeah. I can't speak to what it will look like specifically, but
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And, definitely, as a product person, when I think about like who's using our products, making sure that we can build something that's accessible to people who are new to sports betting is very important. If you look at like the integrations between theScore and theScore Bet, I think do a good job of that. So as someone who is a sports fan, if you want to start to get into the basics of sports betting, there's a lot of stuff that's just in theScore. You don't even have to get into theScore Bet. You don't have to go too deep there, but you can start to follow along. We have, a whole news section. But, in terms of, getting into, like I said, need to know what a spread is or a money line, like those, absolutely, resources that we can make available, I think.
I'm gonna shamelessly plug our help center. That's something that the customer experience team deals with, but we are looking to, expand and make sure that we have articles that provide context to sports betting. We do have some already in there, so I'd encourage you to check out our help center in Zendesk for theScore Bet. But it is something that we are looking to improve upon and make sure it's accessible to all.
Sounds like our marketing team needs to step up and put on a female-focused event. I guess that's where I come in. Yeah.
I think those are all great ideas. And that is, I apologize. We are going to start wrapping this up. And I apologize that we didn't get to all of the questions, but thank you so much for participating and asking your questions. Again, you'll get an email with contact information. So if you do want to reach out to any of the panelists with other questions, I'm, speaking on behalf of them, but I think they'd be happy to talk to you and happy to have the conversation. We will be looking to plan future events. So please stay tuned. Follow us on LinkedIn and we will post more. But yeah, some sort of educational sports betting stuff, as well as other chances once we're able to meet in person, maybe hosting some sort of meetup down the road. I don't know if I'm supposed to commit to anything yet, but I apologize, Sally. But we do want to meet everyone in person and keep this conversation going. Again, this is a brand new emerging industry. It's huge in Canada. It's going to be a big deal and really exciting. So we would love to keep the conversation going. Once again, just wrapping up, we will be doing a raffle and we will be contacting the 3 winners for a $100 Peace Collective gift card. And thank you to the panelists today for your insights and your thoughts in this conversation. And thank you to all our participants and attendees. It was so great to chat, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. That was amazing.
There's Sally.
Hi, Sally.
That
You
was
gonna yell at me?
fantastic. Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thanks, Sally.
Great
It feels
job.
less scary now that it's over.
Oh, that's my mom.
Hi, Mom.
Great job, ladies. It was very informative.
Yeah, that was
Mom.
Thank you very
fantastic.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna jump off. Bye,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks,
Bye,
guys.